Hello, everybody, and welcome to the United Stand. It is the Monday morning show. A huge week for Erik Ten Hag. Some big decisions to be made. Already, our second Champions League game, our first Champions League game at home tomorrow night against Galatasaray. And United are in big trouble at the minute. We are dropping points left, right, and centre. This team does not look like a team, and we're struggling. We are really struggling. Some big decisions for Erik Ten Hag to make. Very sorry I'm late. I've got to apologise for that straight away. We did have some technical difficulties here in the studio, hence why I'm using StreamYard, which obviously we don't want to do. We want to use the studio, but it just wasn't working for us this morning. So thank you everyone for sticking with us. Like just Keevan said in the chat, up close and personal. That's what we are this morning, up close and personal, doing it the old-fashioned way. So thank you everyone for joining us, and good morning on a Monday morning. Before we went live, I saw a lot of people in the chat saying, Beth, I really hope you've got some good news for us this morning, and I really wish I could bring you some. But with Man United at the moment, there's just so much negativity. There's so many question marks. I think if you ask the whole fan base, every single person would have a different idea of what the starting 11 for Man United should be. Does Erik Ten Hag even know his best 11? As you can see by the thumbnail, it does say, should we drop Rashford? It's a massive talking point in the fan base. I'm going to be honest. I think we should drop him for this game. I'm not saying we should drop him indefinitely. I still think he's one of the best players at the club, but it's just not working out right now. And I think he needs to be, and I think he needs to go to the bench. If a player isn't playing well continuously, I think there needs to be something done about that, but we're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss Antony potentially coming back into the team tomorrow night. What certain players should come back into the team? What should the team be? Also, Varane will be joining Erik Ten Hag in his press conference later, so it'll be interesting to see what he says there. Games coming around thick and fast. Also, going to be talking a little bit about, there's some topics on Man United. What is going wrong with Manchester United? Is the characters in this team? Are we missing characters? Is it the same old story when heads start to drop and morale starts to go? Because mindset's such a massive thing within sports. Is Erik Ten Hag to blame? He's the manager. He's got to be somewhat to blame. Where is he going wrong? What's happening with him behind the scenes in the sense of why are we not seeing what's going on the training ground, on the pitch? It just looks like a massive, massive mess. Going to be getting into it all this morning. But welcome everybody to the show. So, everyone, Robert McCormack says, what attacker is playing well? You are correct, Robert. You are correct. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to get into it all because even though it says, Rashford should be dropped on the thumbnail, it's a discussion point. It's a big, big talking point in the fan base. And I want to have a little bit of a back and forth. If I could do a poll, I would do a poll for you. Maybe we'll be able to get a poll up there. If the admin is watching this now, we'll be able to get a poll over whether this should happen. But I've seen Rashford get a lot of stick, and he isn't playing well. But you've got to say, as soon as Rashford gets taken out of the team, it doesn't mean we're going to immediately start winning games. He's not the be-all and end-all of this team. He's really not. We are missing what he was providing for us last year, which was goals and game-changing moments, which he's not providing for us. But we can't hide the fact over a 90-minute period, Rashford is not bringing enough to this team. But he's not the only one. There are other players on this pitch that are not playing at the highest level. But the problem with Rashford is every time we get into the final third, we do seem to be losing the ball through him, and it massively breaks down attacks. And I mean, is it a reason why we're not scoring too many goals at the moment? Is it a big reason? I think it probably is, but there's other reasons as well that we're going to get into. Gems, welcome to the Members Club, and Paul Fenton, welcome to the Members Club as well. Tickets for the United Stand show should be posted, the pre-sale tickets, on the United Stand Members Forum today, so make sure you grab them over in Manchester. Mark will be hosting it. I will be there too, meeting everybody. It'll be a good show. I've already had a little clue of what's going to happen, so it'll be great coming up to Christmas, so make sure you grab your tickets. Josie Foster says, yes, and with no Rashford. Glazer out October the 9th. A lot of stories coming out from very small accounts, and obviously Neil Custis put it out as well, that Sheikh Jassim could be completing the takeover of Manchester United. The reason we've not done a title and thumb on that this morning is because it's just not substantial enough news. It's really, really not. I think there's a lot of people trying to jump the gun. If this was going to happen, the Ben Jacobs, the Mike Keegans of the world would have put something out. So I think in a time of hope and desperation, people want to be the first one on this story. I don't believe it. I hope it does happen, but I just don't believe it. Why is the camera so close? Because I am on StreamYard today. That's why the camera's so close. I'm sorry about it. You have to be this close to my face. It is what it is. But if not, I won't be able to reach over to my computer and I won't be able to see your comments. So it has to be there. EJ Philly says Rashford needs to be dropped the same way Garnacho was for not playing well at the start of the season. It will show that nobody is undroppable. EJ, love that. Member for 8 months, love that chat. It's so true. You need to be treated equally. I'm not saying that Rashford should be sold. I know some people think that. We've had DZ on the call-in show. We've had a few people on the call-in show thinking Rashford should be sold. I don't think that, but I think if a player is not playing well, they should experience time on the bench, especially if there's a player in their spot that can do the job to a high standard. And Garnacho can do that. Going to talk a little bit about what team I would start. I think it'll interest a lot of you, and I think a lot of people will agree with me on that as well, because obviously Bruno Fernandes is literally my favourite player at Manchester United. I absolutely love the guy, and I think he's an unbelievable footballer. But there is a question to be asked whether he should be playing. There is a question to be asked on all of these players at the moment. Marcus S says, good morning, Beth. Rashford has been inconsistent for so many years. Drop him, play players in their correct positions, and bring in the reserves. Interesting stuff from Marcus there. And Christine says, you must drop Rashford. He must be humble. Interesting stuff. Bruno is a problem, says Kevin. I mean, we're going to get into it all. What I would say on Rashford before we go into it a little bit more deeper is every time, if you guys watch all the shows on the United Stand, I know some people only watch certain ones, some people watch every one of them, and we appreciate all of you for tuning in and watching the shows. But if you ever watch when we get opposition fans on, we do it in the build-up. We've got a Galatasaray fan on tomorrow on the build-up show. We always ask them which player from Manchester United, if you could have one player from Manchester United to come into your team, who would you pick? And every single time, not every single time, but the majority of the time, they pick Rashford. And there's a reason why they do that. Xavi was literally just saying, he got asked what players have caused you problems, and he says Vinicius Junior, Ronaldo, not Ronaldo, sorry, Vinicius Junior, Ronaldo, and Rashford. I think they were the three names he reeled off, and everyone was like, Rashford in the same bracket as Vinicius Junior and Ronaldo. What's Xavi on about? Why is he saying that? And because this is what I thought in my head of why people say it. If you're not a United fan that is watching Man United 90 minutes every single week, you will see with Rashford, it's like watching a highlight reel. If you put a highlight reel of Rashford on YouTube or got a compilation up of Rashford highlights, he'd literally look like one of the best players in the world. Like, he would look absolutely unreal because he has game-changing moments. He's scored some brilliant goals. He's got great individual talent that he's scored some very important goals for us in the past. And he's got that ability. He's got the power. He's got the pace. He's got the dribbling. But the problem is, if Rashford isn't providing one of them moments in a game, you're not really getting anything else out of him. A lot of the time, the attack breaks down through him. A lot of the times, he's giving the ball away. A lot of the times, he's making the wrong decision. Obviously, last season, I do agree with people that were saying Rashford's not doing much differently now. The thing is, the moments have dried up. The goals have dried up. If Rashford had scored a goal in each one of his last games, but he's still played the way he's played for the 90 minutes, nobody would be criticising as much as they're criticising him now. What's happened to Rashford is he's still playing the same way he's always played, really, but the individual brilliance isn't shining through on the pitch. So if you looked at a highlight reel of Rashford, and this is why so many opposition fans really do rate him, and there's a reason he's rated throughout the world, and there's a reason why he's got his contract. He can provide some really brilliant moments, and he scored some brilliant goals, and he is a massive threat. And there's a reason why Erik Ten Hag left him on in game, because he is a game changer. But the problem is, if that doesn't happen and that light doesn't switch on with Rashford over the course of 90 minutes, it's detrimental to the team in the sense that attacks do break down through him, and he's not exactly a 90-minute player. He doesn't play well for 90 minutes. And that is a problem. And if we want to play possession-based football, Rashford isn't the type of player that's going to fit into that. He is the moments FC. He is the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer on the counter-attack sort of player. And that's what I've come to realise with Rashford. And I still believe in him. I still believe he can work in this team. I still think he's a top player. But I think things need to be done. I think more work on the training ground needs to be done. I think he needs to be dropped to have a little bit of a mentality check on, I need to improve to get myself back into this team. He needs a bit of fire in his belly. I don't think his body language has been great, really, over the course of the season. I can't lie. And that's just from the outside looking in. I might be wrong, but that's just from reading the body language. And I still believe there's a top player in Rashford. I really, really do. But he needs to work on being a good player for this team for 90 minutes. He needs to work on being a bit more of a team player rather than just relying on those moments of individual brilliance that have helped us so well in the past. But I was speaking to Ricky about this as well, and he was saying, but Beth, 1.6, 1.5, 1.6. And it's true. Rashford was our best goal contributor last year, and there's no taking that away from him. He was the star of the team last year. He really was. But in the games he didn't play, we still scored the same amount of goals, if not more goals, than when he did play. And Ricky would always tell me it's about the team. And the penny's sort of finally starting to drop on that for Rashford for me. And I do think there does need to be a change, especially in the sense of in the Carabao Cup in midweek, Garnacho played that position really well and got a goal. So he should be rewarded for that, I think. But anyway, you know what people say. The definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over again, expecting it to be different. We've been going with this all season. We've been trying to play him into form, and it's not just him, the team as well. It's not working. If we continue to carry on with it, I think we're just going to drop more and more points, and it's not going to resolve itself. Certain players need to be dropped to think to themselves, I need to improve. This is what I need to do. Spend some time on the training ground. And certain players need to be given opportunity to show what they can do. And they got that in the Carabao Cup and they proved themselves. So why can't that continue? I'm not saying indefinitely that should be the team. But for now, I think there does need to be changes to be made. I really do. So Marion Singh says, Rashford is brilliant, but right now it's all about creating chances to score goals. And Garnacho has been doing that better lately. I have to agree. I think Garnacho does provide more threat going forward at the moment than Rashford. Deep Mixed Nation says, did you notice we actually playing worse without Antony? He might not be the most effective, but his positioning gives more space in the box. Going to talk about Antony because I will not be surprised if he's in the starting 11 tomorrow night. I really won't be. He's back in training. There is an expected return tomorrow. Whether he's going to be in the squad, we're not too sure. We'll hear more about that on Erik Ten Hag's press conference, but the consensus in the moment is he probably will be. So get in the comments your thoughts about that. Let's have a look. A few more super chats coming in. Thank you, everyone. Paul Guthrie says, feels like Rashford is being scapegoated, not going to lie. I do agree with you in some sense. I think there's too much focus purely on Rashford because everyone was so used to him being our bailout person and being the guy that bails us out and scores the goals. So I do think in a sense, a lot of people are blaming him because they expect so much from him. It's not just him at all. If he comes out the team, it's not all problems fixed. There's other issues on the pitch as well. And I do think we need to make that clear when we're having this sort of debate, in my opinion, but you guys might think differently. I mean, Ricky thinks with it's Bruno and Rashford that the problem. I don't think there's necessarily a problem. I think there's a very big problem throughout the team that doesn't just come down to one person. We lack character. I think we lack mentality. And also, I do think a lot of our players are overrated. I don't think they're as good as people make out. And I don't know if Erik Ten Hag knows his strongest 11, but it'll be interesting. It's like, I love Bruno so much. I really do. I think he's a brilliant player, brilliant footballer. But I'm saying that team in the Carabao Cup should get a chance. And I've thought to myself, does that mean I think Bruno should be dropped tomorrow night? And I've thought, no, he can't be. He's the captain and he's brilliant. But if we're doing one rule for one, rule for another, realistically, should that be the case? Am I being a little bit biased? Should Bruno be dropped? I'm having that conversation with you guys. Would you play the team that played against Palace in the Cup? Because I was listening to Gary Neville's podcast actually this morning on my way driving into the studio, and he said something that really did resonate with me. And he said in the Carabao Cup game that he watched with a completely different team, it was the first time this season he'd seen a team that doesn't have like a mood. And he said he couldn't really pinpoint the mood, but it was a bit of a negative mood. And it's the first time he'd seen like that not be there. He saw a team play for each other, play together. He saw everybody working ridiculously hard. He saw a good performance, our best performance. So should that team get a tryout again? Because I agree, that was our best performance. We looked the most like a team we've played all season. And I don't necessarily think Maguire's good enough. Does that mean Maguire should play? Because he played in that team? Like, it's questions that need to be asked. Ronnie Dodge, Mason Mount did so well as a 10 in that cup game. Yep. Can Bruno and Mount play together? That's another question to be asked. I think they can if the system is right. But Ricky was saying to me, we've actually not scored a single goal while Bruno and Mount have played together on the pitch. We did score against Wolves, but that was after Mount had been taken off. So that's a really interesting stat as well to bring in. But Ricky also has these other mad stats that is like, with Højlund on the pitch, we're down 7-3. With Martial on the pitch, like we're up like 4-3 or something like that. I don't know. But the stats aren't everything. Of course they're not. But something does keep saying to me, Mount had such a good 45 minutes in that Carabao Cup, playing as a 10 with Casemiro and Hannibal surrounding him. Maybe Bruno would have a really great game if he had Casemiro and Hannibal with him as well in a midfield three. Obviously, we've not seen that because Bruno played on the right in Burnley. But I don't know, something isn't working. It needs to be changed. Ronnie Dodge says, oh yeah, I've done that one from Ronnie Dodge. Thank you. A lot of people bringing up some really good points, and it's a discussion. This is a discussion this morning because something needs to be fixed, something needs to change, and it's good to kind of have these debates and talk about it together, because I came into the studio this morning thinking, should Mount, Hannibal and Casemiro be the midfield tomorrow? Am I really thinking that in my head? Like, it feels like I felt like bad for thinking that, and I wanted to discuss it with you guys. Can Mount and Bruno play in the same team? I've always said I think they can, but now I'm starting to question myself. I've always said, Rashford, we need to play him into form. But I'm firmly on the point now where I do think Rashford needs some time on the bench. Like, I'm generally fed up with his performances. I really am. It's interesting. I also do think when you watch the game in Old Trafford, you have a little bit of a different perspective, because obviously you can see all of the players over the course of 90 minutes, not just what the camera's showing you. So you see work level, you see the work rate of certain players, you see positioning. There's a lot more that you see. So then you start to question other things as well. But yeah, get the comments in. Nick P says, I think Rashford represents everything that's wrong with the last decade. Overrated, weak mentality moments. He's not to blame, but he does sum it up. Nick, I think that's a bit harsh. Putting it all on one player, that's a bit harsh, but obviously you're allowed your opinion. Annie Cat Toma says, Rashford is getting so much heat. What about Bruno? I do not see him getting the same level as top mid players. Bruno is frustrated most of the times on the pitch. That's not what the captain should look like. Welcome to your own opinion, obviously. I do think Bruno Fernandes is a great captain. We've spoken to people, in and around Old Trafford, and all we get told is that Bruno Fernandes is an absolutely unbelievable captain. Do want to see the results start to fall on the pitch, though. I really do, because to be a great captain, you need to have results, and that's not happening right now. Ryan, member for 3 months. It's all well and good saying the team we played in the cup played well, but that Palace team was also a weaker team than the one in the league game. That is true, Ryan, but you can only judge off the performance that you are seeing. So, why don't we try them against a better team and see how they do then? It's not as if our first team is working, because it's not. We're losing games with our first team and not playing well. Even that Burnley 1-0, it was a dreadful performance, even though we won it. So what is the harm in giving that team that played so well? And yes, it was against a second-string Palace team that didn't look interested, but at least give them a chance against a stronger team to prove themselves, I would say, on that point. And we have another super chat coming in. Let me get down to it. So Kevin Donovan says, hi, Beth. I hope you're well. I'm looking forward to seeing Antony back. Everyone forgets his work rate. He brings balance to the team, and he was improving this year. Yeah, I think Antony, again, it's another player that gets so much stick. It's like Rashford's so highly rated among, opposition fans because, like I've said, the highlight reel, the goals in big games, understandable. Antony is so put down, and he's called a flop, and he's called like the worst player at Manchester United by so many. I actually don't think actual Man United fans think that watch it over the course of 90 minutes. Of course, we want more for him. Of course, we want that. And of course, he's nowhere near the finished article. But if you watch a 90-minute game of Antony, you know what he provides. He provides good shape. He provides massive work rate. He provides hold-up play. He keeps the ball really well, especially when we're on coming out the counter-attack, and we've just been in our box defending. Often Antony's the guy that brings the ball out and holds it up, does it very, very well. And he tracks back, helps out defensively. He's good for the team shape. He really, really is. You want more output. You want him to make better decisions, of course, but people won't see that in Antony. They just see, the left-footed shot that's gone way over the bar. They just see him, trying a skill and it maybe not working out. So obviously we do need more from Antony. He's not been as good as I want him to be by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think he is a bit of a miss in this team, and I am looking forward to seeing him back on the pitch, I have to say. It's a very mixed review on Antony, and I've got something to bring up into the show actually based on this. Really fun interaction that you guys can get involved in. I saw it yesterday. Someone asked me a question. It kind of inspired this little ranking system that I've done that I'll bring you in on in a second, guys. I wanted to bring it into the show. Ian Nichols says, mad that Luton could be above us by Saturday night. You are joking. Please tell me that is not right, because if that is, then I am absolutely going to lose my head. I mean, Brentford have been poor recently ever since Thomas Frank went on Monday Night Football and told everyone how he plays his game and how Brentford are so good. That was a wild thing to do, but I think Brentford can beat us at the moment, especially the way we're playing. Where is Luton in the table? 4 points. No, they can't go ahead of us. They can't go ahead of us. If they win. Oh, they've only played 6 games. Oh my God. If they win their next 2, so if they win their next one, they'll have played 7 games, the same amount as us, and they'll be on 7 points. We're on 9. So then if we lost and they won again, they would actually go above us. That is absolutely crazy. I don't think they will, but the fact we're in that position is wild. Just the fact that we're in a position where Crystal Palace are 2 points ahead of us. Nottingham Forest are 1 point behind us. Oh my lordy. Like West Ham are 4 points ahead of us. It's just not looking good. Espen Tangen says we need to sort out our defensive structure. The uncertainty at the back creeps into the whole team. Yeah, there's not good build-up play coming out from the back, but there's just not been a great team shape overall. The midfield's not been dropping in where necessary. The only game where I've seen a good team shape and good progression was in the Palace game in the Cup. And to be fair, Mike Maguire actually did pretty well with that in that game. And I know it's because they were sitting off, and I know it's because he wasn't getting pressured. And I don't think he's a good player, and he should have gone in the summer. But there's questions that need to be asked on where we need to make changes in this team, and we are in desperation mode in the fact Martinez is injured, which is gutting because we're going to miss him so much. In our build-up, in our progression, he's absolutely huge for that. He wasn't great in the couple of the games before he got injured, but now we know it's obviously because he was carrying an injury and playing through literally a broken foot and having painkillers to play through that, which is absolutely inexcusable from Man United's medical team. I've not even spoke about my opinion on that because it was over the weekend. Obviously, I weren't on the show. But this club, from top to bottom, it all starts at the top. The leaks that filter down, a part of this football club, the owners do not give one about being best in class in any department. Our medical department clearly is a problem. Clearly is a problem. I said this the other day and someone was like, Beth, you think you know more than medical professionals that have been training for years? And no, I don't think I know more, because I obviously don't think I know more because I'm not asking to be a medical professional at Manchester United. But I expect a club like Manchester United to have the best in class in their medical department. They clearly don't, because we've been having issues with injuries for years now. Reoccurring injuries with players, we've been having issues for years. Yes, the workload's a lot. Yes, the amount of games is too much. Yes, the added time is ridiculous and players are being asked of too much. I completely agree with all of that. But it is not normal, the amount of injuries we are facing. And for Lisandro Martinez to have had an issue with his metatarsal again on his reoccurring injury, and for us to be told, oh, it's just something minor, he'll be back in a few weeks, it's just precaution. And then for him to come off at Arsenal, then be allowed to travel with Argentina, and then continue playing through that for Manchester United with painkillers, for him then to be out for 3 months with a serious injury after we were being told it's just precaution, it's not serious. That is ridiculous. It's so naive to allow him to go off with Argentina anyway after he's come off injured in that Arsenal game, especially on an injury that we know he was out for so long at the end of last season. It's inexcusable, and it just showed up the medical department for the issues that we've been having for so many years, and it needs to be called out because I'm not saying it's the medical department's fault because they've been hired by the club. They've been hired by the club and they're doing the best they can. But when we've had these recurring problems for years, I blame the ownership for not having zero desire zero desire to be best in class in any department, for settling for averageness, if that's even a word. No, for settling for mediocrity. That's the word. For settling for mediocrity, for not raising the standards. I mean, where I was sat in Old Trafford, I was sat in a different seat at the weekend. I'm not joking. Rain was dripping onto me and I was under the shelter. Old Trafford is literally leaking everywhere. Like this ownership is causing massive, massive problems for us as well. But back to my point, with Lisandro Martinez, him being missing is going to be a massive, massive problem for the team because his build-up play is huge for us. We can see that we're struggling with that as well. Man United just at the moment, again, against Palace, all this possession, but it was so boring. We did nothing with it. How many side-to-side passes were there between the back four? Then it went up the pitch and it broke down. It was just, we just don't look threatening. We don't like we're going to penetrate through defences. We don't look like we have a pattern of play, especially when we get into the final third. It looks very much like hit and hope. And things, the only time we've actually looked like we've had patterns of play, we look like we're playing as a team. We look like, we're making them partnerships on the pitch. Palestri and Dallo, obviously Mount and Palestri, Amrabat and Casemiro, was in the cup game against Palace. And, yes, that Palace team wasn't great. That's the only time we've looked like a team all season, in my opinion. God, that was a little bit of a long rant. Robert McCormack says, Erik Ten Hag will get slaughtered if we drop him and don't win. I don't think he will, I really don't think that he will, Robert, because I think a lot of the fan base are coming around to the fact that it needs to happen. I don't think he will. And do you know what as well? It's not as if he has to drop him for the whole game. We know how lethal Rashford can be off the bench. The Wolves game last season, Leipzig under Ole, the times when I've seen him off the bench, he's looked very, very good. And Rashford's got the pace, he's got the legs. Coming on against a tired defence could be lethal for us. It could be a match winner. So it's not as if he has to drop Rashford for the whole game. Get to 60, 70 minutes, bring him on, got a bit of hunger in his belly, not tired, because I do think maybe fitness is a little bit of a problem in multiple players in our team, and let him go at defences there. That can build his confidence and play him into form. People are saying play Rashford into form, play Rashford into form. Some people are saying that. I think a better way to do that would to bring him on against tired legs, and he's got so much better chance of getting that goal and playing better and getting plaudits from that. So I think that could be an approach that Erik Ten Hag could use. Carl B says, Beth, if only Antony would score more, he would be celebrated more. This is the thing. He needs, and some people saying Antony can't cross. He needs to be able to use his right foot. Absolutely. We need more output from him going forward. I'm not saying, he's the answer, but I'm saying I do think he's a bit underrated and overhated. And I think he is important to the team. And I think it'll be good to see him back. Chris Rubio says, 3rd place and a trophy. Maguire was captain. Erik Ten Hag mistake. Chris, come on. Have a day off, Chris. Have a day off. We're not going down that road, Chris. We're not going down that road. We're not going down that road. I'm not entertaining that one. I'm not entertaining that one. Matt says, the only positive I can find right now, the Qatar valuation seems more realistic by the day. Imagine the Glazers looking for 10 billion in 5 years. You are right, Matt. The Glazers should now be thinking, we need out. We need to get out. Old Trafford's literally falling down. And our rival fans have got a song about it, by the way. It's so embarrassing. If anyone's heard that song, I get sent it like every day because I live in Manchester. So I'm surrounded by City and Liverpool fans. It's disgusting. So I get sent it all the time. Old Trafford is literally falling down. We're not getting results. We're probably going to be out of Europe next year. Let's be real. Like, I do not see us getting top 4. Maybe we could get 5th and that could get a Champions League spot. But even that, with all the teams around us, I know it's early days, but we just don't look at it. And we know the history of these players is to give up. So the Glazers need to be looking at this now and thinking, you know what, maybe that valuation, we should be taking it. So that's the only hope we can really have, I suppose. But I have no hope in the Glazers because you just shouldn't put hope in them or faith in them at all. Milton Davies says, it wasn't as if the Palace Cup team played worse than the team Saturday. The difference was they took their only chance. We had more possession on Saturday than the team that played midweek. Interesting from Milton. I just think we looked so much better in possession midweek. We just looked like a better team. We were doing better movements. We're moving the ball quicker. God, I am sounding like Ricky. We're moving the ball much quicker. We're moving it better. We're moving it as a team. Mediview says, has anyone noticed Rashford plays well until he gets a new contract? Then straight after signing, his effort and form drops. Is it a coincidence? I mean, that's a discussion to be had, isn't it? I would like to think not. I would really like to think not. But that is the reality of it. He played really well, got a new contract, and hasn't really played well since. So I wouldn't blame you for thinking it. Mohammed says Rashford has always been clueless if he's not in a counter-attacking situation. This is what I'm saying. This is what I was saying before. It's not as if it's new. He's just not scoring the goals. He's a counter-attacking player that isn't having the moments right now. And this is the thing. I do feel like I saw someone say the other day, I do feel like Ten Hag's got such a mix of different players. Sorry, I'm just looking for the super chats here because I don't want to lose any of them. He's got counter-attacking players in the sense of Rashford and Bruno. He's got possession-based players in the sense of Antony, in the sense of Amrabat, like in the sense of Martinez. He's got different players that he's invested into. Anana's a possession-based player. So it's like a mix of different styles right now. And I think we need to build around one certain style, but it's up to Ten Hag to make it work. He needs to do it quickly because at the moment we're just not seeing a style or an identity really. Mez Nelson says Mount false nine with Bruno and Casemiro and Amrabat. Nope. When we've got Haaland and Martial, no way would we be playing Mount false nine. It would be such a waste. If anything, you'd put Mount on the right, but with Antony coming back, I can't see that happening. But anyway, I wanted to go into that fun game that I said I had for everyone. It's a little bit of a fun game. So I saw a tweet that says, in their absolute best form, how would you rate our attackers from 1 all the way down? How would you rate our attackers in their absolute best form, at their best? How would you rate them? And I found this really, really interesting. And I was going off them playing in a Manchester United shirt. In a Manchester United shirt. Not at different teams, in a Manchester United shirt. So, this is what I went with. I'm going to get slated for who I've got as number 1. I'm going to get slated as who I've got as number 1, everyone. But bear with me on this one, and you can get your rankings in as well. And I think who I've got in number 1, the fact that they are number 1 says everything that you need to know about our attacking quality. It really does. So, I'll go from bottom to top, actually. I've not included Haaland in this list because I've not seen enough of him in a Man United shirt to make up my mind where he could be, and I don't really want to be unfair on him because he's literally come into a really poor team and he's not really had any service. So I didn't want to rate Haaland this early. Paul Villis, thank you for your super chat. So at number 6, I have Ahmad and Palestri. I couldn't really separate them. If I had to separate them, I'd probably put Palestri just above Ahmad because I've seen more of Palestri in a Manchester United shirt. But obviously, Ahmad at Sunderland was great, but that was in the Championship, which is a massive step up to the Premier League. So I put Ahmad and Palestri on the same kind of level, but I would probably put Ahmad 7th, Palestri just above him, just from what I've seen in the United shirt. But that's only because obviously the young, we've not seen much of them. At 5th, I have got Jadon Sancho. This is in their absolute best form in a Manchester United shirt, everyone. Yes, Sancho at Dortmund was brilliant, but he's been here for 3 years and I've not seen anything. So next I've put Jadon Sancho. At 4th, I have then got Antony. For me, in a United shirt, Antony has shown me more than what Sancho has. He just has. You might disagree with me. I know people are still living off Jadon Sancho at Dortmund, but for me, I've just not seen it. So I've gone Antony at 4th. At 3rd, I've gone with Alejandro Garnacho. Garnacho has had some brilliant moments. Off the bench, he's been great. As a starter, he's not really been as good and he has not been great at times. But he's just so exciting. When you're at Old Trafford, he gets you off your seat. You love to watch him. He's unpredictable. He's got individual brilliance in him. He also plays as a team. He's a proper flair winger. And he's a match winner as well. He's that match winner that you have. So for me, Garnacho goes into 3rd. And Garnacho could actually go up further than this. Obviously, I think he's got world-class potential. He's got all the potential in the world. He could be a brilliant player. And I'd like to see him, to put him further up on this list, he'd have to start more games and play well from the start. But I've gone with Garnacho at 3rd. At number 2, I have got Marcus Rashford. We are talking in the absolute best for Manchester United, and no one can deny that Marcus Rashford has had some absolutely unbelievable times at Man United. He's, the PSG game, the Barcelona game. There's games that you could just list off where Marcus Rashford has been a match winner for us, and he's been great. because he has been. I'm talking their absolute best here. So number 2 is Rashford. But the problem for me with Rashford, why he couldn't be number 1, is because I've just not seen him do it on a consistent basis over the course of 90 minutes. And over the course of a season, really. Number one, as you guys will already know, is Anthony Martial. The reason why it's Anthony Martial, I don't want it to be Anthony Martial. I don't want it to be. And this is why I said I think we've got a bit of an issue. Because Martial is top. The reason why it's Martial is because on his absolute best form, he's been at the club for how long? 9 years. He's injury prone. He's not been consistent enough. But 9 years later, from when Martial has been here, he's still, on his day, at his best form, our best attacker. Our best attacker. And that is a problem. That is a problem. That shouldn't be the case. That shouldn't be the case. Martial, on his best form, is the best attacker. He's intelligent. He can dribble really well. He passes to players. He links up the front three. He can be like the glue. He's got good relationships with Rashford. Rashford plays better when he plays with Martial. Bruno plays better when he plays with Martial. He's got good relationships across the front three. He can play in 2 positions as a striker and as a left winger. I think personally he's better as a left winger. But Martial on his day is our best attacker, and that is a problem. I don't want him to be. I've always thought Martial is brilliant, and it's such a shame because he genuinely had all the potential in the world and could have been one of the best players, genuinely. Like when he first came at Man United, I was literally getting Thierry Henry vibes from him. Never fulfilled his potential, and it's a real shame. I think whoever told him he was a striker and not a left winger massively let him down. Whatever manager was in charge should have said, "No, Antony, you're a left winger. You're not gonna be at the top level as a striker," and he should have honed in on that position as his best. Because there can be so many good wingers that score goals. Salah's one of them. Mane's another one. Like, there's so many. Even Ronaldo back in the day. I'm not saying Martial's nowhere near that level. Nowhere near that level. I'm not going that far. But that just shows that we're not at the right level. If Martial on his best form is still our best attacker. So that's the game I kind of wanted to bring in with you guys. I know a lot of people in the comments are like, Beth, what are you on? What are you talking about? But give me an argument as to why he's not and to why there's anybody else ahead of him. And that's an issue. We need players that are well ahead of Martial. We need players that are well ahead, but we don't have it. And this is one of the reasons, again, why I think we are struggling to score goals. I don't think our attackers are good enough. I really don't. I don't think they're as good as what people think at all. It's our weakest area on the pitch. If I look at our front three, compared to all the other top four or the traditional top 6. And then you look at our midfield and you look at our defence compared, I would say our front players, our front three are the weakest. You look at City, we're absolutely nowhere near. In all departments, not just attacking, in all departments, but we're nowhere near. You look at Arsenal, Saka, Jesus, Martinelli, they're ahead. They're ahead. They're ahead. There's no denying it. They're ahead. You look at Spurs, Son, Kulusevski. I think they're ahead. I really do think they're ahead. You look at Liverpool, they're definitely ahead. Like Sané. If you look at Sané, Luis Diaz is brilliant. Nunes, like some of the finishes he's put together and he doesn't even make their starting 11. He's way better than a lot of our players. So you just look across the top 6 and our attack is just nowhere near it. And I don't know if I'm being reactionary because of how poor we've been recently, but I don't think this is where we come back to the point where I do think our players have been overrated and they've been made out to be better than what they actually are. And that's kind of what that ranking kind of was. I brought in to open our eyes up to the fact we need better quality. United, Elijah says, couldn't agree more, Beth. The list is perfect. Thank you very much for that one. I know it's a very controversial one, and I know a lot of people have different opinions, which is why I wanted to bring it up, but that's what I wanted to put it in. Kai State says, Martial has always been better as a winger. Should try Martial on the left over Rashford, Højlund up front, and Antony on the right. Kai, I would love to see it. I would absolutely love to see it. I don't think we will. Again, it's a myth that Martial doesn't track back. He does. He does track back. It's an absolute myth. If Martial was as lazy as what Rashford was, we wouldn't hear the end of it. We wouldn't hear the end of it, honestly. But I would like to see that as well. I think Haaland would massively benefit from Martial actually being able to pass it in the final third and being able to link up play and keep hold of the ball. I'd like to see Antony on the right because it's Erik Ten Hag signing, and I know he can bring something to this team, and he's improving, he's developing. I would love to see that front three, and Garnacho off the bench is obviously always a really good option. And let's have a look. Is there any more people putting chats in? Odemar, member for 13 months. Have the Glazer taken dividends yet? Not this year from what I've heard, but I might be wrong on that, everyone. Let's have a look. Is anybody else put their rankings in or have a disagreement with me that I can bring to the show? Everyone just keep your comments coming on this one. Raul says, I couldn't agree more, but it seems like Beth is really, really high today. On a Monday morning, Rahul, come on. I'm absolutely not. But maybe it's the camera, but I'm absolutely not. I don't know why he would say that to me. And yeah, anyway, looking through the chats there. And JPJ says, hi, Beth, love the show. Thank you very much. G-Man says, I don't think Martial has the legs to run up and down the wing for 90 minutes anymore. That's true with his injury record. That's the doubt that I've had as well. You know, when you have these little discussions to yourself in your head, a lot of the time when I'm driving, I have these thoughts and I go back and forth with myself. As much as I'd love to see Martial on the wing, maybe you can do it for half a game. Maybe you can do it for 60 minutes. Don't see a full night out of Martial on the wing. He's just not got the legs anymore, I don't think. And you don't want to really risk the injury because he is important to us. But getting onto it. I wanted to bring up now, let me have a look what I had wrote down for this show. So I saw on TalkSport they were talking about Ten Hag getting his signings wrong and not signing the right characters. I disagree with that. I think we have signed the right characters. It's just up for the debate whether they are actually technically good enough. Like if they are good enough on a technical level for Manchester United. I think we have signed the right characters. But at the same time, we haven't always signed Erik Ten Hag's first choices. We really haven't. And I know a lot of people say he spent the money, but Todibo, Kim Min-jae, Pavard, De Jong, Rabiot even wanted, Harry Kane, obviously Nunes, when he came in, he wanted him as a striker last year. We've not signed Erik Ten Hag's priorities a lot of the time. So I think that's a little bit unfair to say on him, but I just wanted to kind of bring that point up to see what you guys had to say. But anyway, I want to talk the last bit about the last little bit of the show. I want to talk about the starting 11 for tomorrow. What would I play? Obviously, Mark is going to do his own preview later on. I think that's going to be the 8 p.m. show tonight. Obviously, the press is in the afternoon. He'll do that as well. But I think he's going to do his own preview. But I want to talk to you guys about the starting 11 I would play for tomorrow because I've gone back and forth about it in my head, what I would do. Part of me was like, I just want to play the exact starting 11 that played in the Palace game midweek. Part of me was like, we can't drop our captain in Bruno Fernandes, and I would maybe play Lindelof over Maguire. Then I didn't want to kind of, for it to work, I feel like you'd have to go with the same personnel again. So, get in the comments what you would do. But I'm stuck on the fence between two different teams. So I'll tell you the two different teams that I'm stuck on the fence with. I'm stuck on the fence of whether I'd go with the exact team that played in the Palace game. Varane captain, that exact team. Mount as a 10, Hannibal in the midfield, Plestri on the right, Garnacho on the left, Martial at front. Maguire as centre-back with Varane, progressing the ball. I'm stuck on whether I would go with that. I really am. I thought Lindelof was really bad when he when he played the other night against Palace, to be honest with you. But I still think he's much better than Maguire. So that's why I'm stuck on it. The other team that I've put together, which I would say probably I was leaning towards, is this team. And you can tell me which one you'd go with. So the other team I was leaning towards, which is the team that I've kind of constructed myself, is Onana in goal, Dalot, Varane, Lindelof, Amrabat, Casemiro, Hannibal, Bruno, Mount, Garnacho, and Martial. So that team, I don't know if Antony's fit enough to come back in, but I'm acting like he's not until I hear otherwise. So in that, you'd play, obviously, Onana, Dalot right back, Varane and Lindelof is the centre-backs, Amrabat is inverted left-back again, Casemiro, Hannibal and Bruno in midfield, Mount on the right, which he's done for Chelsea very well in the past, Garnacho on the left and Martial up front. And a lot of people saying, where's Højlund? Where's this? Where's that? The reason Højlund isn't in is because I don't want to. He had this injury when he came in, and we were told he couldn't play more than one game a week. He's been playing a lot of minutes. I want to keep him fresh. I don't want to put too much pressure on him. I think Martial has done enough to start. I really do. I think Martial has done enough to start. He played really well in the game in the Palace game. He played really well when he came on for that glimpse against Bayern Munich. He did really well in the short amount of time he got when he came on against Palace. We look better. I think Martial has to play in this game. I really do. As I've said, I think he's our best attacker. I really do. Garnacho, I think, has to come in for Rashford. Proved it in the Palace game, and I think he can offer a lot on that left, and I'd love to see him work with Martial. The way you can get Bruno and Mount into this team and it work, I feel like would be playing Mount on the right. Bruno is the cam. He's the captain. Hannibal, I think, has to play. I think he has to play. The 2 times I've seen him, he's played really well. And the 2 times he's played from the start, started the game, we've won them both. Burnley and Palace in the Cup. And in the Burnley game, he ran the most, covered the most ground than any other player that's played since Erik Ten Hag's era at Manchester United. And to think about how much Bruno runs, like, that is brilliant. And I think Hannibal, again, was a big reason why in the Palace game we looked really good, because he's got the engine, he's got the power, he's got the legs to cover in that midfield for Casemiro and really help him out and allow Casemiro to give more going forward. And with Amrabat coming in as well, I just think it worked. I think the balance was great. So I think Hannibal has to come in. Like, what more does he have to do? We've won both the games he started. We've not played well with him out of the team. I think he has to play. So what team would you go towards, guys? Would you go for the just copy and paste, the one that played for Palace in the Cup? Or would you go with the one I've just listed there, which would be Maguire out for Lindelof and Pellistri out for Mount on the right? It's a bit unfair dropping Pellistri, I suppose, but I want Mount to be in this team. And I don't think Pellistri necessarily played great against Palace, but you've got to give him more time. Like, he's only just coming into the first team. You know, you need time to integrate yourself in. You need time to get yourself, fully navigating this team properly. But anyway, I want to see what you guys are saying on this one. And I see Dead Bodies username. That's a little bit disturbing. Let's get real. From the whole squad, only a handful of players are good enough. For how many years do we watch most of these lads not good enough? I agree. I think our team is overrated. I think the players are overrated. Mount on the right, Garnacho on the left, says Royden. Amrabat is not a left back, playing him in his right position. We don't have any other choice. We have no left backs available. Unless we played Lindelof as a left back. Maybe that could be an option. And play Maguire as a centre-back. Hannibal set the tone. Yep, exactly. Hannibal did set the tone, and I think it kind of runs through the whole team when he's on. And the fact we're kind of looking for a saviour in a 20-year-old coming through our academy says it all as well. Says it all. Damn, we need our players back. We really do. If not, Ten Hag is gone by Christmas. Again, I want to reiterate this as I wrap up the show. For me, Ten Hag goes nowhere this season, no matter what happens. He's the manager. We get behind him. He's dealt with so much. The Glazers are terrible owners, and there's a chance this club gets sold. I want this club to get sold, and then I want to see what Erik Ten Hag can do. I completely get behind him. I don't trust these players at all. They've got a history of letting the manager down and giving up. And I do think Ten Hag has credit in the bank. Winning that cup last year and getting third with that team, he's got credit in the bank. Yes, it's not worked so far this season. I think he came in thinking he's going to play a completely different style of football. It's not worked out. We've had massive setbacks with injuries. I'm not making excuses. It should be better. But Ten Hag goes nowhere. I don't want this cycle of managers rinse and repeat. I'm sick of it. Erik Ten Hag is the man, in my opinion. That can change. But right now, he is the guy. And I trust him. In the past, managers have come into teams and you've had to give them chances. Even when Sir Alex first came into Man United, he was on the brink. Like, he wasn't the Sir Alex straight away. He needed time. And I think we've got to give Erik Ten Hag time. I really do. This ownership is terrible to deal with. And Look at Arteta. He came 8th twice in a row with Arsenal. And look how well they're doing now. Klopp came 8th in his first season. Then he came 4th. It takes time. Even if we go out of Europe, at least it'll give us more time on the training ground next year to actually implement Erik Ten Hag's style and process. Of course, I want to be in the Champions League. Of course, that's what we should be aiming for. But sacking this manager will not change it. It won't change anything. It won't. It really won't. We've been through this cycle so many times. So I'm behind the manager. The players are under question. Not all of them, but a lot of them, because we've just seen it. We've just seen it all before. We've seen it all before. But, it's still early on in the season. A lot can change. We have to win tomorrow because the Champions League is so, so important. It's so important. It's even more important now because let's be real, right? The Premier League's completely gone. Fighting for top 4 is obviously still on the cards because it's still early days, but the teams around us are going to make it very, very difficult. Cup competitions is where we could find refuge this season. We've got to put everything into the Champions League. A good run in the Champions League can massively lift spirits, can help Erik Ten Hag out as well. And the Champions League, even though obviously it's difficult, it's an easier competition than the Premier League because it's knockout football. It's not as difficult as a 38-game Premier League season. But we have to do well in the Champions League. Obviously, the Carabao Cup, there's a lot riding on that now as well. FA Cup as well. But I want to see a good performance tomorrow. I mean, if we don't beat Galatasaray at home, I'm going to be losing my head. I'm going to be losing my head. And Galatasaray are a good team, by the way. Not writing them off at all. We've got a Galatasaray fan on the build-up show tomorrow, but we've got to win that game. But anyway, I want to wrap up. I've been going for 50 minutes now, but there's so much to talk about. I could keep going. I think I could keep going for another half hour, but I'm going to wrap up. We've got the press conference coming later on. Obviously, we've got the show with Ben Foster as well, I think, coming. So going to wrap up here, everyone. Western Philpott, before I go, thank you for all you do, and you are correct. You are correct. Ates had the time he needed. Erik Ten Hag deserves it too. Thank you, Weston, on that one. Anyway, I think that was a really good show, guys. Really good show by you, the community, getting involved. Great super chats across the board. I really appreciate it. Got a lot off my chest there. Good discussion points. And yeah, thank you, everyone, for getting involved in the discussion. I feel a little bit better now going into the rest of the week. Had a bit of a turbulent weekend, but we move on. Press conference will be with you on the United stand. Mark will be doing the press conference later on. Also, Faz and Ryan are at Carrington this afternoon as well in the press conference with Erik Ten Hag. So we'll be bringing you the latest from Carrington, open training, and Mark will be doing his preview later on as well. Also think we have a video with Ben Foster coming out at 12, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, tomorrow, Galatasaray, build up, fan forum, match day. It will be all here for you on the United stand. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in, dealing with the technical difficulties. Obviously, a little bit late this morning. And yeah, thank you very much. Hit a like on the video if you want us to bounce back tomorrow night and get all the 3 points at Galatasaray. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next one, everybody.